been exposed to this stepfathering space environment for the past, what could I give it now? Maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years. It's been quite an interesting journey for me. Um, I've learned so much. So there are four models, I think, or four situations of step parenting that I've come across. The first one is the one where I'll use the example of a man and a woman, or myself and then women, but you can switch it around to be woman to man, but just for the ease so that I don't have to keep giving the different scenarios. So as a man, I meet a woman, the woman has a child. The child's father is either dead, passed away, or maybe in jail, maybe, or is a complete deadbeat. They haven't seen the father in 5 years, in 10 years. The father's never contributed. The child has got no relationship with the father's side of the family. So when you meet this woman, single mother with the child, and you've got no competition. There's no other man somewhere. There's no man's family. The child themselves don't know of another father besides yourself. That's the first scenario. And to be honest, that's the easiest scenario that I think a lot of men actually wish for if they ever choose to be with a woman that has a child and become a stepfather. The second scenario is where you meet a woman, she's got a child. There is a father, but the father is unstable. So number one, the unstable could be that the father lives very far away, could be in another province, another city, in another country. So the guy is 500 kilometers away, 1,000 kilometers away, 10,000 kilometers away. The guy's far, which means he only sees his child once a year, twice a year. Maybe he sends money via EFT. Maybe they video call or phone call with the child once a month. It's static. It's not really stable. And in that regard, look, the guy has some presence in the child's life. The child may reference, I'm going to visit my dad for the holidays, but it's not a big deal. You know, it's chilled vibes. So that becomes the third scenario. There is a biological father. You're coming in, you're meeting this woman, you're playing the stepfather role. But there is a biological father, but he's inconsistent. He only sees the child once in a while, and. Then there's what was I on? Third scenario. Second scenario. First scenario, dad is dead, deadbeat. Second scenario, inconsistent. He's there, inconsistent. Third scenario is the guy is fully present. Guy is fully present. So every weekend, guy fetches the child. Every weekend or every week, the guy is phoning his child. The child loves their father. The child has a great relationship with the father. The father shows up at parents' evenings at school. They're there at sports days, etc. You've met this woman. This woman has a child. The child has a father. The father lives maybe even in the area, 10 kilometers away. And they're always with their child. And that one becomes difficult. And you find that a lot of people really, in situations like that, they sometimes even feel, especially if the father's a good man, they're like, hey, I don't know, man. I don't even know if I trust this woman to not be with this guy anymore. And that becomes an issue. So those have been some of the stepfathering, stepdad scenarios I've been exposed to. Father's not present at all. Number one, best position, best case scenario. So you get to be the dad seamlessly. This child knows you as their father. It's chilled vibes. Second one is the father's inconsistent. You get to be a dad. The biological dad shows up now and then. It's whatever. Third scenario, the dad is fully present. And yeah, this thing can be quite annoying. I think there's a fourth scenario. I think I've forgotten it. But I found myself thinking, man, and having conversations around just the whole concept of step parenting. You know, we've got the LGBTQI plus community, the rainbow community, as some call them, lesbian, bisexual, gay, trans, queer, inquisitive, pansexual, etc. All these things. They are a community that was initially mostly around sexuality and still largely about sexuality. And then some inklings of identity. I identify as a trans woman. as a trans man, whatever the case may be. I am gender fluid. But it was largely around sexuality, the type of romantic partner you want to get with. I'm almost seeing something similar with family models, where we might end up with our own CSB type of families. C being co-parenting, where the two parents are not living together, but they kind of trying to raise the child, even though they're not living together. S, step parenting, where you're a step parent somewhere. Someone else is maybe a step parent to your child. And then there's B, blended families. I'm bringing in my child. The woman is bringing in her child. Maybe we adopted a child somewhere. At some point when her child goes to visit the father, maybe they take my child with, or maybe they go with the adopted child. Maybe with my child, there's also half siblings somewhere else. So the half siblings visit during the holidays. They spend time with their step sibling and their adopted sibling. And then when they blended, it sounds like a mess, but it seems like we're going to be finding more of these types of situations. And we're already living some of these situations today. And I'm not sure where we're going. I've spoken very famously now, trends regularly about my situation with my children. It's well known. I speak about these things because I think there's so much to learn for everyone. And I'm also a person who's willing to learn in the comments. I sometimes get a lot of really great comments. I get a lot of really good criticisms, a lot of good suggestions and ideas on how to parent better, how to sort out my situation better. But I've just been thinking about this thing because it's hard. And this is why it's hard for people maybe to understand, because, he's not a stepfather, he's the father that stepped up when women fucking try to psycho manipulate you into stepping up for a mpedo. When you meet someone, you guys like each other, care for each other, love each other, fall in love, and they happen to have a child. It's the two of you. The child becomes another energy force. This is not your child. This is their child, and you want to love them. Now, that is doable for most people, I'd like to think. Look, this is not my child. It's okay. I'll do the right thing. What you generally don't want to deal with is the energy of the other parent. Because now, if the other parent is dead, far away, you don't feel the energy as much. The child doesn't speak about the father. The father's not involved. The woman doesn't have to explain a lot of things. It's chilled. If the father is fully present, the guy's there every weekend, he's at all the teachers, all the school events, you can feel his energy. And if it ever so happened that this woman that you're with had a bad experience with this guy, she's constantly going to be triggered. She's going to be moody. And now this child's going to keep coming back after spending time with their father, speaking to their father on the phone, speaking about the things their father bought for them. And it's going to make you feel some type of way. And I think I'm making this video to just hear some of your thoughts. How do we do this thing better? How do we ensure that couples can have a healthy relationship with stepchildren without there being this other energy force, which can be very toxic? I'm trying to create a relationship with my stepchild. We're sort of getting along, but then the stepchild's like, I want my dad. Or, my dad is going to fetch me over the weekend. Or I want to buy something for the child. No thanks, I'll ask my dad to do it. Or I buy something for the child, the dad buys something better. No, I don't want that bicycle. My dad bought me that really expensive bicycle. And it's almost like I'm competing with this energy force of some sort. How does the woman deal with this energy of her baby daddy? Because she herself might cringe. It's one thing if the baby daddy passed away. It's another thing if now she always has to explain to her husband, her boyfriend, that, look, I have to go drop off the child. We've been called into the school, but it's just going to be myself and this other guy. Every time the child screams, I want to speak to my father. I want to visit my father. How does this woman feel, and how does she manage it with this guy? How does he feel? How does she feel inside, to a point where she ends up getting angry? One of the conversations I've had with parents that have experienced something similar is the idea of killing. The idea of killing the other parent. Now, obviously not literally, but the idea of, in this home, It is me as your mom, it is your stepfather, and it is you as the child. We do not want another energy force here. It could be the boyfriend's or the husband's mom, your mother-in-law. You don't want her energy here where every time you're trying to do something with the child or having a conversation with your husband, he keeps saying, but my mom says this is not how it's done. You want that energy force out. So you say, please don't bring your mother here as an energy force. This is between me and you and the child. Do you kill your partner in the sense that you're like, I will not speak about my baby daddy when it comes to you. I'll liaise with him. He'll send me money, maintenance money. We'll liaise regarding the child. But I'm not going to tell you, my boyfriend or my husband, about this guy because I don't want him to be an energy here between us. And that could be doable for women. Of course, if you're insecure, you're going to want to know everything. I want transparency, send emails and CC me. That's if you're insecure. And it's sad that you'd have to get to that point of insecurity because you're like, well, what if they start chatting on the side and they end up sleeping together or whatever? These really triggering jokes that people post that, when baby mamas and baby daddies get together for the children's birthday, they rekindle and they get busy afterwards to be like, hey, let's celebrate intimately our baby. Triggering, of course, and it increases the anxiety and the insecurities. So some people might want that transparency, but you might be like, I've made a conscious decision. I've had bad experiences in the past. I know I have this child. I can't do anything with this child, but I've decided to kill the baby daddy. So you're never going to hear anything about him from me. You're never going to see anything about him. If I'm maybe going to the child's school event, I'm going to tell you I'd like to go alone. And it might be because he's going to be there and I don't want him to be an energy force. I'm going to go there alone knowing that he's going to be there. But from your perspective, boyfriend, husband, this guy doesn't exist. Almost like he's dead. Then the next thing becomes dealing with the child. Now telling the child, I don't want you ever speaking about your father in this house. Which of course is dangerous because the child is not free. The child can't celebrate whatever they're experiencing with their father. And very dangerously, your child, if they can't speak about their father in this space, maybe can't confide in you about something the father's done wrong, either to you as the mother or to the stepfather. Because you might find that it's a boy. He's 14, he's got a biological father out there. They're discussing boy things. The biological father maybe slaps him or whatever. The boy comes back, he knows how his mom feels. He doesn't want to tell her. It's like, these are kind of men things and I know my mom's going to flip out. I want to speak to my stepdad. I want to be like, I was speaking to my biological dad and this is what he was saying. I don't know. And then he slapped me. And the stepfather might be able to give good advice. Objective, unemotional advice. Whereas the biological mother might lose it. But now you've said to the child, your father's name is never raised here. Don't speak about him. Don't speak about the time you spent with him. Nothing. As soon as you walk into this house, as soon as you walk into the gate, your father's dead here. As a way of managing this thing, because it is a topic that we don't speak about, but that's out there. Many couples end up splitting because of these dynamics I'm speaking about. Many men, especially men, some women as well, refuse to be a stepfather. They don't want to be with a woman with children because of all these complex dynamics. How present is this guy? Is this guy maintaining? If he's not maintaining, do I have to now cater for that? What happens if we have a child and I want to do more for my child than the stepchild? Now you're like, no, my children must be equal. How can they be equal? Because this is my biological child. I've got money. I want to send him to a private school. Your baby dad is either not sending money or he sends very little. Our stepchild should be going to a public school. But you're like, no, I can't have my kids going to different schools. No, sis. And people fight. So they like, to avoid all of that, rather don't get with a woman with a child. It becomes worse when a lot of these women always want to put their child first. And for me, it's become a red flag. When you meet a woman and she keeps emphasizing, it's almost like independence. If a woman keeps emphasizing, I'm an independent woman, there's a miseducation that's happened around independence. An independent woman, and I saw this on a TikTok, is a self-sufficient woman. It's a woman who can pay her own rent, pay for her own car, buy her own groceries, financially take care of herself. Independence is you don't need anyone. And that now becomes a culture. I don't need a man. No, you don't need a man for money. But you may need a man for companionship. You may need a man for ideas. You may need a man for protection. You may need a man for intimacy. You may need a man for children. You may need a man because you enjoy the energy that a man... You're not independent alone. And if a woman says, no, I'm independent, I don't need a man, I'm good on my... That's a red flag. So similarly, when a woman's going to be like, my kids come first, my kids come first, she's screaming to you that your thoughts, your opinions, your pains, the things you raise will always take a back seat to how she feels about her kids. And if her kids come first and her kids care about the biological father, or her kids want to do something with the biological father, she will prioritize that over how you feel and what you're experiencing. And those become the things people fight over. And maybe I also just want to say to women that have kids, that have baby daddies, that watch the things you say, watch the culture you create. And even if you're going to be meeting men, of course, tell them you have children, but try and be explicit about the dynamics around your children. Number one, I don't introduce my children to men because I want our relationship to be pure without dealing with a child that's not yours. My children are with my parents, their grandparents. I'd like you to have a good relationship with my kids, and because the other thing we don't speak about is what happens if you and the stepchild don't get along? What happens if you don't? And it's not necessarily that they love their biological father, they just don't like you. The energy is just off. You don't like the stepchild. The stepchild loves you. But it's just like, hey, this child is kind of fucking annoying. This is not my child. And we can't have these chats openly, honestly. So I think I was just raising to maybe hear some of your stories, some of your experiences, and then speak about how we can create this new community, this CSB plus, co-parenting, step-parenting, blended families plus, these new family units that we have. How can we do them better? How can we minimize the damage? One of the things I keep saying these days on platforms is I really think where families become broken, man and woman come together, married, unmarried, doesn't matter, they have a child, they live together, they raise the child, and then they split, they get divorced for whatever reason. I really think what's in the best interest of all three of them is for the child to be removed from the dad and the mom, and to, if they are of a good age, sent to boarding school that both parents must pay for, or sent to grandparents, whether maternal or paternal, whoever's better, so that the woman is free, especially so that the woman is free, but so that the man also has equal access to the child. So the mom is not having this crazy benefits of she lives with the child, she's with the child on the weekends. Father only sees the child every second weekend on holidays. He has equal access in the sense that both him and mom don't live with the child. And both of them can go and see the child at boarding school anytime. Weekends, in the afternoons at school, depending on where the boarding school is, they both have equal access where possible. But also so that the woman is free. She's not carrying this baggage now that everywhere she goes, I live with my child. I live with my child. Hi, I just want you to know I have children. And all these men are like, hey, I really like you, but I'm not ready to be a stepdad. You don't have to be a stepdad. The child's in boarding school, or the child is with the grandparents. The way we lived in South Africa, the black cultural groups, it made sense in the past that when a girl gives birth without being married, number one, obviously the guy would have to pay damages, or the guy's family, but this child would not belong to the girl, which means the child doesn't belong to the girl and the baby daddy. The girl is a child in this home under her father's custodianship. This child she's given birth to is also a child under the home, under the grandfather's custodianship. So this girl is free to be married to any other man. And she leaves alone. She leaves the child behind. The idea of when a girl gives birth, she leaves the children with her mother or her parents who have a stable home, hopefully. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to be free. Yes, I've got a child. It happened. I'm maintaining the child, and hopefully the baby daddy is maintaining the child. And he and his family have got access to the child. But as a woman, I'm just like the father. We're both equal. We roam the streets as if we don't have a child, but we do have a responsibility. So I can meet men and be free. You can come over to my place. It's free. There's no child there. You can come over to my place. You don't have a responsibility of having to take care of a child that's not yours. And then this might be one of the solutions. In a situation, of course, where the parents have split and they have a conversation, the father says, I would prefer for my child to live with their mother. And the mother prefers for the child to live with her. That is fine. No one should force them to then be like, no, send the kids away, send the kids to boarding school. You know, one of the things I've heard that some men do when they want to trap a woman and tie her down is they pipe her with babies. 2, 3, 4 children. And then this guy is in the streets, sleeping with everyone, cheating, because it's like no one's going to want to be with this woman. She's got 3, 4 kids. What kind of fucking simp or idiot of a guy is going to agree to be a stepfather to 3 kids? Where I'm going to keep popping in. The kids are going to keep saying, oh, I miss my dad pen. So some men maliciously get a woman that they love or like. They give her lots of kids so that she has that baggage. And this could become a solution for those women to be like, oh, I see what this nigga's up to. I'm going to take these 3 kids. I'm going to tell him, you take the kids. If he's like, no, but I can't. Cool. Sharp. I'm going to take these kids and I'm going to send them to my mom. Or I'm going to send them to your mom. I want to be like you. I want to be free. I also want to be in the streets. I want to be available. You will not trap and tie me down by getting me pregnant and giving me babies and knowing that my life can't move because I have to take the kids to school. I have to make them lunch. I have to go to parent-teachers meetings. I have to go and watch their events. I have to take them to practice and rehearsal. I can't move. My everything is about my kids. You as the baby daddy are living your best life out there in the world. And I'm not going to have that. So I'm going to be just like you. If you won't take the kids, great. I'm sending my kids to the grandparents. I'm going to be free.